The millionaire came home without notice, and froze at what his black maid was teaching his twins. In a world of concrete and glass, where ambition cast long shadows, lived a man. Hello, my beautiful family. Welcome to another beautiful story time. Trust you have been good. Please like, share, and comment as we continue. His kingdom was vast, his wealth immeasurable, yet his heart remained a territory uncharted, a landscape as barren as the winter sky. Every second was a transaction, every relationship a negotiation. He was a titan of industry, a master of the deal, but the language of the heart remained a foreign tongue. He had built an empire, yet the echoes within his own home spoke of an emptiness his fortune could not fill. He glanced briefly at a photo of his 7-year-old twins before leaving for another day of relentless pursuit. A rare break in his relentless pursuit, a canceled flight, a moment of unforeseen silence in his roaring life. He decided, out of obligation, to surprise his children by going home. Miles away, in a world woven with different threads, lived an older woman. Her hands, calloused by life, carried the wisdom of 62 years. For 5 years, she had been housekeeper to the millionaire's family. But to the young twins, she was far more. A quiet anchor, a steady flame in their often shadowed lives. She knew their physical needs were met beyond measure, but their small, precious hearts often yearned for a different kind of nourishment. The sleek black sedan glided silently into the driveway. The mansion loomed. He let himself in. "Hello?" he called out, his voice echoing in the eerie quiet. The house was too silent. He moved through the vast living area, drawn by a faint, unfamiliar murmur coming from the sunroom. He stopped at the archway, concealed by a ficus, and peered in. He froze. The housekeeper was kneeling, her back to him, head bowed. The 2 children knelt beside her, small hands clasped, eyes squeezed shut. "And we thank you for this day, for the sun that shines, for the food that nourishes us, and for the love that holds us, even when we feel alone." His breath hitched. "And we ask for strength, to be kind, to be brave, and to remember that you are always with us, in our hearts, in the whispers of the wind, and in the comfort of those who care for us." One child whispered, "Always with us, in our hearts." The other, with conviction, added, "And in the comfort of those who care for us." He watched the children open their eyes. The housekeeper turned, smiling at them, a radiant, genuine smile of profound affection, and the children looked at her with adoration. He, who provided everything, was giving them nothing of this. He felt utterly powerless. "Now," the housekeeper said softly, "did that help the worried tummy, little one?" "Yes," the child replied. "It feels like a warm hug inside." The other child asked, "Does God hear everything, even if it's a secret wish for a new Starship action figure?" The housekeeper chuckled. "He hears every beat of your heart, little knight, even the silliest wishes. But he also cares about the important ones, like kindness and courage." He turned, retreating silently, the soft click of the front door echoing like a gunshot. He needed to escape this unwelcome truth. Later that evening he was agitated in his study. The housekeeper in the kitchen felt a prickle of unease. He appeared in the dining room doorway. "Eleanor," he said. "Mr. Sterling," she replied. "I arrived earlier than expected this afternoon." "Yes, sir." "I understand you were in the sunroom with the children." "Yes, sir, we were." He paused. "And you were teaching them prayer?" The housekeeper took a deep breath. "The children had some worries, sir. I offered them comfort in the way I know best." He looked at her, cold and unwavering. "My children have therapists for worries. They have tutors for their education. I provide all they need. Spiritual instruction is not part of their curriculum. Nor is it, if I may be so blunt, part of your role here." The housekeeper stood firm. "With all due respect, sir, sometimes a child's heart needs more than a therapist or a tutor. Sometimes they just need to know they're not alone, and that there's hope beyond what they can see or touch. That's what I offered them." He snapped. "Hope is a valuable commodity, but it is not something I pay you to provide. My children are to be raised with reason, not with fables." The housekeeper insisted. "A child's imagination, their spirit, is not a fable. It's as real as the air they breathe. And sometimes it's what sustains them when everything else feels uncertain." He snapped. "Hope is a valuable commodity, but it is not something I pay you to provide. My children are to be raised with reason, not with fables." The housekeeper insisted. "A child's imagination, their spirit, is not a fable. It's as real as the air they breathe. And sometimes it's what sustains them when everything else feels uncertain." He ran a hand through his hair, agitated. "I appreciate your concern, but I must insist. My children's upbringing is my prerogative. I trust you understand." She nodded. "As you wish, sir." He added, "And I don't want this to be a point of contention. You are a valued member of my staff. I simply ask for adherence to the established boundaries." She merely inclined her head, then walked away. He had drawn his line, firm and unyielding. The next morning a blizzard trapped him in his own home. By early afternoon the storm raged. Lights flickered and died. The heating sputtered into silence. The housekeeper, calm and resourceful, started a fire in the living room fireplace. The children, initially excited, grew scared. "It's so cold," one whimpered. "And dark," the other added. The housekeeper soothed. "It's all right, darlings. We just need to make our own cozy nest." He emerged from his unheated study. He saw the housekeeper surrounded by the twins, nestled by the fire, sipping hot chocolate. She was telling them a story about a brave robin. He felt like an alien, an intruder in their warm circle. "Mr. Sterling," she said, "we're making the best of it. Would you like some hot chocolate?" He declined, settling into a cold armchair. He watched them, observing her natural warmth, the children's unforced laughter. This wasn't the professional housekeeper. This was the nurturer, the storyteller. He felt a yearning. As hours passed, he observed. The housekeeper taught games, created shadow puppets. The mansion, usually silent, filled with their voices. Later, the aroma of vegetable stew filled the room. He awkwardly approached the kitchen. "Is there anything I can do?" he asked. She smiled gently. "You could chop these carrots if you're careful." He fumbled with the knife. Without a word, she gently adjusted his grip. Her warm, calloused fingers brushed his. An unexpected jolt. He clumsily sliced carrots, embarrassed but focused. He was doing something ordinary, useful, with his housekeeper, for his children. A different kind of connection began to form. They ate by firelight, the forced proximity chipping away at his walls. Another evening by the fire. One child asked the housekeeper for a true story. The housekeeper hesitated, then began. "Well, there was a time when I was a little girl. My mama, she was a seamstress. My daddy, he worked in the steel mills. He was a kind, strong man." He stiffened slightly, remembering his own father, a steel man, but harsh, driven. The housekeeper's warm memory was a stark contrast. One winter, the mill shut down. There wasn't much work or food. My mama cried sometimes. My daddy got quiet. I remember feeling so scared, like the whole world was too big, and I was just a tiny boat tossed on a rough sea. He took a sharp breath, remembering his own primal fear. I remembered what my grandmother had taught me about talking to God, and I asked him in my deepest, most secret whisper to please, please make my mama well. "And then what happened?" the child asked. "The very next morning," the housekeeper continued, "a kind neighbor showed up with a basket. In it was chicken stew and medicine. My mama started to get better. It taught me that even in the darkest, coldest times, there's always a light, always help, and that sometimes the quietest prayers are the loudest in heaven." The other child asked, "So God really does hear you, even if it's a secret?" "He hears," the housekeeper affirmed. "He always hears." He felt a profound ache. He had grown up without such stories, without such unwavering faith. Later that night, alone with the housekeeper, he spoke. "Your story about your father. My father was a steelman too, but he wasn't like yours. He always told me that showing emotion was a weakness, that hard work was the only thing that truly mattered. I spent my whole life trying to prove myself to him. All of this, it was for him, to show him I was strong." He sighed, a raw, pained sound. "But I realize now that in building all this, I may have lost something important, something you seem to have carried with you all your life. How do you keep that light when life is so hard?" The housekeeper replied gently, "The light isn't something you keep, it's something you share. And sometimes it's what others shine back at you when your own is dim. They shine it, brighter than any lamp." He looked at his sleeping children. The storm within him had finally begun to break. The blizzard broke. Power was restored. He returned to work, still changed, but the old habits pulled at him. He balanced work with dedicated time for the children, continued bedtime prayers. But his executive team noticed. Whispers began. "He's softening, losing his edge." His ambitious second-in-command saw his softness as weakness. One afternoon, the second-in-command arrived at the mansion, finding the housekeeper and the children planting herbs in the garden. He watched, lip curled in disdain. "Eleanor," he snapped. "Mr. Thorne," she replied. "Everything is perfectly fine, though I must say I am surprised to find the children in this, and you teaching them such quaint activities. We are simply enjoying the afternoon, Mr. Thorne, learning about nature. Indeed, I understand you also teach them about spiritual matters, about prayer. I offer comfort when the children need it, Mr. Thorne, that is all." The second-in-command scoffed. Comfort? Or perhaps an undue influence? Mr. Sterling is a very busy man. He needs his household to run with precision, not sentimentality. He needs his children to be prepared for the real world, not filled with superstitions. One child interrupted. "Prayer isn't silly. It makes my tummy feel better." The second-in-command's cold gaze landed on the child. "Children should be seen and not heard, little girl. And what's good for your tummy is a healthy diet, not fanciful tales." The housekeeper stepped forward, shielding the children. "Mr. Thorne, this conversation is inappropriate in front of the children, and it is certainly not your place to question my methods or Mr. Sterling's decisions regarding his family." The second-in-command's face hardened. He leaned closer, his voice a harsh whisper. "Oh, but it is my place, Eleanor. As Mr. Sterling's most trusted adviser, I am concerned about anything that distracts him, or, more importantly, might compromise the legacy of Sterling Industries. And frankly, your influence is becoming a liability. I suggest you reconsider your actions unless you wish to find yourself without a position. Mr. Sterling values loyalty and discretion above all else." His car pulled into the driveway. He stepped out, tired, but saw the tense tableau. A cold premonition. "Victor, what are you doing here?" "Arthur, just dropping off urgent documents, and I happened to notice a rather concerning situation. Eleanor is still imparting her unique brand of comfort to the children. I just overheard her telling them that prayer isn't silly. And frankly, Arthur, with all due respect, it raises questions about her professionalism and indeed her judgment. This kind of influence could be problematic for their future and for your image. He felt a surge of anger at the manipulation, but the words image and legacy struck old fears. Victor, that is enough. My household matters are my own concern. Victor, emboldened, pressed on. Arthur, think about it. The perception. The twins being taught such unsophisticated beliefs. What if this gets out? It could affect your standing, the company's reputation. Perhaps it's time to reconsider Eleanor's position, for everyone's sake. A child sobbed, the other glared. He was torn. Old fears surfaced. Victor, perhaps you've overstepped, he began, his voice uncertain. However, your concerns are noted. Eleanor, I think perhaps it would be best if you took a few days off, just until things settle. The words were meant as a compromise, but to the housekeeper they were a betrayal. Her eyes, filled with profound hurt, met his. The fragile bond shattered. Without a word, she gently detached the child's fingers, her face a mask of sorrow. "As you wish, Mr. Sterling," she whispered, devoid of warmth. She turned and walked away. The silence was colder than any blizzard. Her departure left a gaping void. The children were bereft, their hearts broken. He tried to fill it, but the house felt colder than during the blizzard. One evening he found a child clutching a faded crayon drawing of the housekeeper and crying. "I miss her, Daddy," the child sobbed. "She made everything feel safe. You made her go away." Her words were a dagger to his heart. He realized he had betrayed the housekeeper, his children, and himself. He paced his study all night, recalling her quiet strength and her words. The cold power of his world offered nothing. Her warmth offered meaning. The next morning he made decisive calls. He terminated his second in command. Then he drove to the housekeeper's modest home. He found her tending her garden. "Eleanor?" he called out, hoarse, uncertain. She turned, surprised. Then her face hardened. "Mr. Sterling, what brings you here?" He walked towards her, stripped of arrogance. "Eleanor, I came to apologize. Profoundly. I was wrong. Terribly wrong. I let fear and an old misguided sense of what matters cloud my judgment. I betrayed you. And more importantly, I betrayed my children." He looked at her, pleading, humble. "They're lost without you. The house is empty. I am empty without the warmth you brought. I ask for your forgiveness. And I beg you, Eleanor, please come back. Not just as my housekeeper, but as the heart of our home, as the person who teaches my children what I'm only just learning." She looked at him, seeing the transformation, the pain, the remorse. She saw hope. "Mr. Sterling, you caused a lot of hurt. Trust, once broken, is hard to mend." "I know," he whispered, "but I promise you I will do everything in my power to earn it back. For them, for us. I want to learn from you. I want to understand what you understand. I want to be a father who provides more than just a roof and food. I want to provide love and comfort and faith, if you'll teach me." "It won't be easy," she said. "Changing a lifetime of habits takes courage and faith." "I'm ready," he vowed. "I'm ready for the courage, and I'm ready to learn about faith. Please." She nodded. "All right, Mr. Sterling. For the children. And for that little flicker of light I see trying to shine through in you." The next day he walked into his mansion with the housekeeper by his side. The children shrieked, launching themselves into her arms. He knelt beside them. "Eleanor is back," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "And she's here to stay. And we're all going to learn together." That evening the family gathered around the fireplace once more. This time, when the housekeeper began the bedtime prayer, he joined hands with his children and the housekeeper. For the first time he spoke the words, softly, tentatively, but with an open heart. and we ask for strength to be kind, to be brave, and to remember that you are always with us, in our hearts, in the whispers of the wind, and in the comfort of those who care for us. Amen." The children echoed, "Amen," and he, for the very first time, added his own heartfelt Amen. The millionaire, who had come home without notice, frozen at what his housekeeper was teaching his twins, had finally thawed. He had found not just his children's faith, but his own, unexpectedly, in the quiet wisdom of a woman he had once only seen as an employee. His home was no longer a monument to his ambition, but a sanctuary of unexpected love, nurtured by kindness, humility, and the enduring power of a shared prayer. He had come home, at last, not to a house, but to a family, and to a life truly lived.